You're listening to the Sports Shark Tank on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
Welcome, everybody, into the Sports Shark Tank on 88.1 FM WCWP. My name is Nick Fioravanti, hosting alongside Joe Frescott and Dylan Conelli here in Studio 3 in the Abrams Communications Center. First and foremost, before we get into anything, as you know, we've made the transition, simulcasting on FM radio, also the YouTube live stream. Hello, everybody on camera. We've also got a brand new, very interesting thing for you guys to potentially interact with. We have the studio phone up and running. So there's going to be a toll-free number that you can call at any time. And you can, if you want to talk about a little ball, if you want to tell Dylan he's ugly, whatever you want to do. What? What's wrong with that? Anyway, here's the phone number. It's 516-299-2866. One more time. It's 516-299-2866. And you can call that number and you can join us live on the Shark Tank. So thanks for listening. And now you get to be a chance to be a part of it. So we've got a lot of interesting things going on. We're going to be talking a little baseball. We're going to be talking a little basketball. So first and foremost, let's start out with baseball because it's going to be a little backloaded with basketball. The Dodgers have continued to spend out the wazoo just this entire offseason. They've been signing everybody and their grandmothers. They signed Tanner Scott recently, Roki Sasaki. They re-signed Teoscar Hernandez. They signed Michael Conforto, Blake Trinan, Blake Snell, all these big-name guys. And most recently, as of yesterday, they signed Kirby Yates, a relief pitcher, formerly of the Texas Rangers. And this has me thinking, is it time for the MLB or Major League Baseball to implement some kind of salary cap like we see in other sports like the NFL and the NHL, and maybe even a salary floor? Because there are other teams like maybe the Pittsburgh Pirates who have finished close to last almost every single year since their new owner, Bob Nutting, took over the franchise in Pittsburgh 12 years ago.
Wait, what's his last name?
Anyway, we're not.
Child.
It's going to. I think that would really level the playing field. But I want to hear some quick reactions from you guys regarding the Dodgers specifically and their offseason spending. Do you guys think it's fair? Do you think it's realistic? Do they even have enough roster spots to roster all these guys? I think it's crazy, but I'd love to hear from. Let's start with Dylan. What do you think?
Yeah, I've spoken about this before. I think it's absolute BS. I really think that it ruins the integrity of the game. I wasn't alive for when the Yankees were doing it, so they're pretty much perfect in my eyes. So I would never. They would never do anything to upset me. I love them so much, my glorious Yankees.
All right.
But yeah, I think at a certain point, it's like, all right, when's enough? If you had this on a football team, it would look like varsity against the middle school team, and now they have an all-star team just because they can sign all these people without any repercussions. It really is ridiculous. The Dodgers make LA even more annoying, and now they have this God Squad, and I feel bad for like all the smaller cities that can't compete with this. And it makes no sense too, because a lot of these stars are signing, but you're going to be overshadowed by all the other star power. So and baseball players are pretty stuck up. So I mean, I guess you want to win it. You want to win a World Series, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think for some of these guys, I don't know. I feel like if I was a part of the MLB, I feel like I would almost not sign with them out of spite. You know what I mean? It'd be like, I'm gonna go to a team and beat these guys out of spite. But with what the Dodgers are doing right now is just absolutely ludicrous and taking advantage of a clearly system that is just flawed. And it's always been flawed, and it just continues to be flawed because they call it a competitive balance tax, and that's what I wanted to talk about, Dylan, because you said there's no repercussions. Of course there is, but all they have to do is just pay more money. And with this competitive balance tax, all they have to do is just that they get penalties when they go over the certain cap. I think it's $290 million, something like that.
Mhm.
And once they go over that cap, whether it's deferred money or other money, they just have to pay whatever the salary is back in a tax to the league. So for teams that have owners that are baked in money and it's funny money at this point, they can pay however much they want, and they'll pay a tax because their team is going to end up generating so much revenue from what these players are going to bring in, and it is just quite simply unfair. So I'm not opposed to the whole idea of like not having a salary cap, but there needs to be more rules, at least in my opinion. I think the best thing that they can do is not allow for the deferred of the money. And I know that's been a thing forever. Bobby Bonilla Day exists for a reason. I think he only has a few more years left, though.
I think so. I'm not exactly sure
I think
how
he's
many,
almost
but
up. I think Bobby's paycheck's almost done. But shout out Bobby. But yeah, I think that concept, I think alone, getting rid of that would be a great start, because then it would increase the burden of the tax that the teams would have to pay. And then in turn, teams like the Dodgers would not be able to get away with super teams that they have now, because that's what they have.
Yep.
I mean, the story leading into this was that Kirby Yates was just signed to the Dodgers, and Kirby Yates had a 1.17 ERA last season for no, he wasn't on Houston. He was on Texas. He was a Ranger. And like, that's unbelievable. Like that's a high quality, high leverage guy who is now going to be their third or fourth best like reliever.
yeah,
Like,
that's insane.
make it make sense. Make
Yeah.
it make sense. Make baseball competitive and fun again.
It's unbelievable. And you talk to the Dodgers fans, especially, and they'll say stuff like, "Oh, this is something that every team can do." It's not. The Dodgers have the richest TV contract in the entire MLB, and they're the sole proprietor of their own network. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but they own the richest contract in the entire MLB. They're raking in money hand over fist just by broadcasting their own games on television. No other team has this type of quality of life that the Dodgers have. They have so much money to fall back on, and it's not even their owners who are fronting most of this money. It's the TV deal that's helping them out. And the Dodgers fans are saying, "Oh, every team can defer money." Well, not every player wants to have a money deferred to them. So on this point, let's take a call now. Actually, we're gonna take a call live right here on the air. Calling in. Hello, what do you got to say?
Hello?
Hello, yeah, we hear you.
Yes. I want to talk about Bobby Bonilla.
Bobby Bonilla. Okay, I think it's Jason. Is this Jason Conelli? I see. That's
Yep.
joining us.
Yep.
Hey,
All right,
Dad.
What's
Hi, Mr.
up?
Kennelly.
How you guys doing?
We're doing great. Well, Jason,
right,
thank
well,
you
this
for
is
joining
what
the
I wanna
show.
ask you.
And talk to me about
I
Bobby
love
Bonilla.
the
What do you
show.
have to
It's great.
say?
All right. Bobby Bonilla wasn't signed by Steve Cohen, correct?
No.
Right. So they deferred his money, and now Steve Cohen has to pay Bobby Bonilla's contract.
Yes.
LA's going to do the same thing. They're signing all these guys that deferring money for 100 years from now. They don't care because they're not going to wind up paying it. They'll wind up selling the team. Somebody else will buy it, and then they're going to get stuck with it.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So the future going forward is going to really hurt them in the long run by deferring all this money, because they're still going to have to pay it. It's just later on, it's kind of like the government, how we spend all this money now, but, our kids and our grandkids will have to pay it all back. It's not a good way to do business.
Yeah, I think what the Dodgers thinking are, like, in the short term, we're going to win all these World Series with all these players
Well, you
and
hope
spend
you are,
millions and
but
billions
that's
of
not
dollars.
a guarantee. Right.
But yeah, at the end of the day, it's whoever the next ownership group is
Yeah,
going to
it's
come
going to
in
get
and pay
really
out the wazoo.
screwed over. Right.
Yeah, and Ohtani,
Exactly.
what is his contract? $700 million, and he's only getting $7 million a year. He's going to get
That's
paid
so shady.
$600
That shouldn't be
million.
allowed. Right.
Yeah, no, it's kind of wild. I think come the next collective bargaining agreement, I think that's going to start before the 2027 regular season, we're going to experience the longest lockout of all time. Just because,
because the owners don't want to do it. You know what I mean? Because the contracts are getting crazy. And they're losing money too because they're losing TV contracts. That's going to make a big difference too. You know, baseball is in the decline, not in the incline like the NFL. So that money's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah, it's definitely got to come from somewhere. And not every team has the superstar owners like, say, the Dodgers and the Mets do. And the Mets, they just spend out this money on Juan Soto, $700 million. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah, I don't know. At some point, it's going to implode on them, and it's not going to be good for baseball.
Dad, can you talk a little about the Juan Soto contract?
Oh, no, that's insane. I'm glad the Yankees didn't do it. Paying someone $700 million to play baseball is absurd.
Even though they offered him the same contract, essentially?
I thank God that the Yankees didn't sign him for that. They would have been hamstrung forever.
Yeah, Mr. Conelli, we really thank you for your time. We got to wrap it up a little bit.
You guys.
Yeah, have a good night.
Job.
Love you, Dad.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Wow. That was a great first call, honestly.
That was electric.
That was
Mr.
really
Conelli brought
electric.
the energy, let me tell you.
He sounds a lot more New York on the phone, I gotta say.
there was no doubt where that man was from.
That was 100%.
That was heavy.
100%.
Yeah.
But I do think he brings up some great points. Like, now the Dodgers are going to be hamstrung for the next, I don't know, whenever the Guggenheim group decides to pass the torch of the Dodgers on to the next team. Maybe they're going to be stuck in the mud for the next 20 years after their ownership is through. But at the same time, maybe not, because all these deferred contracts are going to pay dividends and they'll just find some way to pay it off eventually. I mean, it's neither here nor there, but the Dodgers signing all these free agent players, if you listen to these guys on the MLB network and they're like, oh, it's good for the sport of baseball. It's not.
Talking heads.
I disagree.
They're
100%, because the Dodgers are the Major League Baseball's biggest cash cow. They have the most star named players. They bring in the most money. They won the World Series, which Rob Manfred was probably jumping in like a Scrooge McDuck money pool right there. Just absolutely insane. But I don't know. I don't know what other teams are going to be able to do for the next, 3 or 4 years till the CBA expires. We've seen the Mets, go out and create some pretty big contracts, and the Yankees are sort of following suit. So do you guys think that any team really has the chance to catch up with them in the next, 5 to 10 years in terms of shelling out all these big contracts?
Yeah, definitely not. But I tell you, if they don't and they come up short from a World Series, that'll be the best feeling to see this group of losers lose. Oh my God. That's like watching the Cowboys fail, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Dylan. And I think that's kind of what the MLB is now, right? It's going to be everybody versus the Dodgers, and everyone will rejoice if anyone but the Dodgers ends up winning a championship.
Oh, it's like the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's literally the Chiefs of baseball.
The Chiefs of baseball.
It's not bad, but the Chiefs are doing it the right way and doing it fair. The officials thing, we can, that was a conversation, want to listen about that. Dylan had a great rant on Monday that you can tune into and hear about Dylan and his thoughts on that situation. But I want to bring up one more point. I know we have to go to break, but I thought Mr. Kelly brought up something really fantastic. And the fact that if they're deferring the money, the new ownership would be in agreement paying for that money. And it's kind of a crazy thing. This team is probably going to be impossible to sell. Mm-hmm. So I think that they are aware that the family, because obviously that kind of money is hereditary. It is, knows that they're going to have to pay it off eventually. And I think it's something that you have to think about as well. Take sports out for a second. Think about the economy, right? Think about inflation and the fact that the contract that is absurd today probably won't be as crazy all the way down the line because of the fact that it's just the way money works. 70 million 10 years ago is not the same as now, won't be the same as 10 years from now.
Right.
So for the deferred money as well, it's something that's super smart as from a business perspective, because at that point, that monetary amount of money is going to be worth less. So you're going to be paying these guys essentially less. And I don't mean to rattle people's brains too much, because I
what are we,
understand
an
it's
economy
a
class?
complicated topic. But I'm just saying that the Dodgers are smart in what they're doing, and they're evil, and they're bad.
They are.
Dodgers no good.
They're the root of evil. They're doing some devil magic in the MLB, just like the Chiefs are in the NFL. But when we come back from break, we're going to be taking it to the hardwood. We're going to be talking a little basketball. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Shark Tank on 88.1 FM WCWP.
You can support WCWP with one simple click. Log on to WCWP.org and click on the support tab. WCWP is your home to LIU Sharks Athletics, The Rock Show, and much more. Visit WCWP.org and click on the support tab. It's that simple. WCWP is a non-commercial radio station, and your support goes to help students and our staff. Visit WCWP.org and click on the support tab. Thanks for listening to WCWP and LIU Public Radio.
Bob Dylan, one of our culture's most influential and groundbreaking artists. Join George Walsh every Monday night at 9 as he plays the songs of Bob Dylan and those who have been influenced by Dylan's genius. Whether you are a longtime fan or new to his music, let George take you on a journey of musical discovery Monday nights at 9 p.m. The iconic music of Bob Dylan is blowing in the wind and playing on the air Monday nights at 9 on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org, LIU Public Radio.
The Rock Show is heard weeknights from 7 to 9 p.m. here on WCWP. I'm Jeff Kroll.
And I'm Pat Kroll. On Thursday, January 30th, we'll be playing songs with "don't" in the title. You know, don't do this or don't do that.
But we hope you do tune in to The Rock Show. Thursday, January 30th from 7 to 9 p.m. here on 88.1 FM and online at WCWP.org.
Listening to the Sports Shark Tank on 88.1 FM WCWP.
Welcome back to the Sports Shark Tank on 88.1 FM WCWP. I'm Nick Fioravanti, sitting alongside Joe Frescott and Dylan Conelli. The last segment, we were talking about MLB and the spawn of evil themselves, the Dodgers, and their ludicrous offseason that's just continuing to spiral. This segment, we're going to be transitioning over to basketball, what's going on in the National Basketball Association. The trade deadline is quickly approaching, and so is the All-Star game. So a lot of cool things are happening in the association at the time, but the trade deadline is quickly approaching. There's a lot of teams who are looking to make a lot of deals. I think first and foremost, they were talking about it last night on the show. Jimmy Butler, he's trying to force his way out of Miami, just like he forced his way out of a couple other teams. One suitor we've heard a lot about, potentially acquiring Jimmy's service is Phoenix. I could see them, offering a couple picks for Jimmy. The specifics I'm not 100% clear on, but there are also a couple other teams out in the West that could really use Jimmy's service. I could see him going to a team maybe like LA or Golden State, one of those teams that it's kind of fighting its way into the play-in or, towards the bottom seeds of the Western Conference. But we've got a lot of teams that even in our New York sphere, the Brooklyn Nets, they might be looking to move on from some players as they try to capture the flag, so to say, or at least tank for the number one pick to get Cooper Flagg, the phenom out of Duke University, the main event. I think that the Nets could make one or two pretty decent sized moves coming into the trade deadline. They could trade Cam Johnson. Cam Thomas might be on the table as well. But there have to be some pieces for people to keep coming back to see the Nets play. So I don't think they can, trade too much. I think Cam Johnson might just be the guy who, unfortunately, is sent out of Brooklyn. But I think in terms of the other side of New York, the New York Knicks, I don't think they need to make any devastating moves to even really shake anything up because they're on such a pretty decent trajectory. they have a lot of decent role makers. Mitch Robinson's going to be coming back from injury in the next week or two. And I think that they're pretty decent. I mean, if they decide to move on from a guy like, I don't know, like a Landry Shamet or like Matt Ryan or some other guy who doesn't really get consistent minutes, it remains to be seen. But I'm curious as to your guys' opinion. Do you think that, Jimmy Butler, do you think he either gets traded, or if he doesn't, do you think he just sits out the rest of the season since his indefinite suspension by Pat Riley and the Miami Heat front office? And if he does get moved, where do you think he goes?
I think there is no doubt that Jimmy Butler is on another team when we're talking about this next week, because the trade deadline is just, I think, about a week away. I think it's a couple of days. I think it's February 6th. So I think that's maybe 8 days. If someone could fact check me on that. But either way, I think that Jimmy Butler's definitely going to another team. And I think that we've been talking on and on about Phoenix, and that's what everyone's talking about. And I just don't really see another trade destination for him. Who is going to take up that contract and would be willing to? Who is in kind of a desperate win now mode where they would bring in a disgruntled Jimmy Butler? And I think that he's going to be a Phoenix Sun. I think that KD and D Book are going to force his way there. He's a better fit as a third fiddle on that team than Bradley Beal, and I think everybody knew that when it came to them trading for Bradley Beal. It never made sense. They have too many guys that are good at offense, but only good when they have the ball in their hands, and it just doesn't make for good continuity on the floor. They've also had a ton of injuries, which has not helped. But I think Jimmy is going to Phoenix. And then he talked about the Knicks, and based on the contracts that they gave out, the trades that they made, I can't imagine that they do make a move in this NBA trade deadline. I think they believe, and I believe, and I think most people believe, for that matter, that they have everything they need, right? I mean, they have the pieces. I mean, if Mitch Robinson was not coming back this season at some point, and hopefully soon, please, Mitch, jeez, it's, we're approaching the midway point of the season. We're talking about you still getting back on the floor. I think that they'd be fine. I think that they would make a move, I should say, if Mitch wasn't coming back, but Mitch is. And that's the one place that the Knicks have fallen short on. It's just a backup big man. Having Precious and Jericho Sims take those minutes. And again, Jericho Sims should never touch an NBA basketball court ever again. No talent in that man's veins, just height and ability to jump. Got to give him that too. But yeah, I don't think the Knicks make a move, but I think one team to look out for and one move that I think would really shake up the NBA and that I would really like to see personally would be the Pelicans moving on from Brandon Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Ingram is now the Pelicans are over the luxury tax. They're not good, and he is going to require a max deal next season. And I don't think the Pelicans are in a state where that makes sense for them to do, for them to pay all that money for Brandon Ingram. Obviously, Brandon Ingram is a fantastic scorer in the NBA and is somebody who could aid a championship team. So I would love to see him on the move. I'm not sure where he would go. I don't know where the best suitor for him is off the top of my head. But yeah, Brandon Ingram on the move. I think Jimmy's definitely on the move. And I think all of the things surrounding New Orleans right now, I could see them blowing it up and starting the blow up and kind of rebuild process with shipping out their 27-year-old star.
Yeah, I could see another team actually in the West, specifically the one you were just talking about, make another move. I'm seeing online the Pelicans, they're just not a good basketball team. And the guy that they drafted 6 years ago to supposedly take him to the promised land, the next LeBron James, Zion Williamson, has not really done much for the Pelicans franchise. Do you think it's time to move on from Zion? I mean, he's entering, the last, I think, cup either this season or next season in his contract. He's missed more games than he's played for the Pelicans. A team could definitely use his services if he's healthy. But, I mean, the health factor is yet to be determined. Do you think that the Pelicans could move on from Zion?
Dude, these players that like Jimmy Butler, Zion, it's like they're cancers on the team. I mean, I know Zion's always hurt, but how much of it do you think is him really being hurt or him not wanting to play?
I think it's him being hurt. I think that
Mm.
these guys, I don't think they can get away because there's medical staffs on the team and there's trainers that they have to like diagnose him with something.
Yeah, but
Like,
you can they 100% these basketball players are lying about it to get out of playing. They've been doing it, and like
I don't know about
they're
that.
such divas. It's just basketball players tick me off, man. They're a bunch of crybaby boo boo faces, and they get paid this crazy money to complain about where they're gonna play. I think I was watching yesterday's show with Simile, and I think he said it perfectly. When talking about Jimmy Butler, I don't want to say what he said. If you want to see it, go watch him. But I really do think like players like Jimmy Butler should be like he shouldn't be signing anywhere. I think that the league, unfortunately, they're not going to, but I think the league should excommunicate him like Colin Kaepernick.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a
but
take.
Zion, I feel like if he's really always injured, maybe Buddy should go to like the retirement home because listen, buddy, your body's not going to get any better. All right, you're already crippled now.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Zion specifically, the Pelicans have multiple times installed like a weight and nutrition program for him since, that's been a struggle for the entirety of his NBA career. He just never follows it, and his weight has definitely affected his health because, the big body comes down hard on the floor and, you're bound to, strain a calf or, hurt your back some way. So I think the Pelicans might finally be done with Zion Williamson and, eventually explore trading him. But there are also a couple other guys that are quick to be on the move. I think the Sacramento Kings are looking to move De'Aaron Fox.
Wow.
Him and DeMar DeRozan just kind of really isn't working out, especially after they had to fire Mike Brown, which I think was a terrible move on the
Horrible.
decision of Sacramento's part. But I don't even really know of a really decent destination for De'Aaron Fox. CBS Sports lists the San Antonio Spurs as a pretty decent spot. I could see him going there. The Spurs, along with Wembanyama, have kind of been shooting up in terms of the win column as of recently. They're doing really well. So where do you think De'Aaron Fox lands, if anywhere, before the trade deadline?
Well, I didn't know that the consensus is that De'Aaron Fox is out, because if that's the case, that's huge. De'Aaron Fox is, obviously everyone knows he's one of the fastest players in the league, but he's a great point guard, a versatile scorer, and he's somebody that would fit on the Spurs perfectly next to, the 7'4" alien in Wembanyama, I said that wrong at first. Oh boy. But Wemby, who is just, a freak, and he could do everything, but he needs a point guard. And that's the real problem right now. They got the aging Chris Paul, a rookie Stephon Castle. They don't really have a guy who is a true point guard who is, still good. Obviously, Chris Paul is still all right, but he is just, your body can only last so long. And Chris Paul is just doing what he can
Shell
at
of his former
the
self.
ripe age at 38, I believe. And shell of his former self is a great way to put it. But the Spurs are a great location for him. De'Aaron Fox is still young as well. So that's somebody who I think would potentially be a buyer, are the San Antonio Spurs. If the Kings do choose to get rid of him. But I think it's interesting as well because, the Kings right now are ahead of the Spurs in the West, and they're a little bit of a rivalry. So I don't know if they would make that move specifically. One team that definitely does have to make a move, though, that I want to bring up as we wrap up this segment, is the Chicago Bulls. They haven't made a move in the trade deadline for the last 3, and they're just running back the same old teams. And I think the last 3 years they've either been first round exits or play-in exits. So obviously what you have is not working. You're not beating Boston. You're not beating Cleveland. You're not beating the Knicks. So what are we doing here with Zach LaVine and Vucevic? It's a team that just it's not built to compete right now, and the experiment of what you had is over. I say, you get rid of some of those guys and kind of blow it up. But I think that's what's interesting about this deadline, right? I mean, we have talked a lot more about sellers than we have buyers. I think there's a lot of teams that are kind of at the point of like, all right, we're not competing, but I don't know if there's as many teams that are like, oh yeah, we have the luxury of the cap space and the need for some of these talented guys.
Nets.
What was that?
The Nets.
The Nets. The Nets are they're tanking.
They're an anomaly.
No,
They
I
don't
know.
want
I'm
anybody-
looking at. They have 15 first-round picks and 16 available in the next 7 years.
That's smart. That is
Yeah.
how you tank.
They've got a
They're
lot of
tanking
capital
correctly.
going into this offseason.
Yeah.
But that'll wrap up this segment of the NBA trade deadline. We're going to keep it in the next segment to the hardwood. We're going to be talking about the NBA All-Star Game and specifically one of its festivities that happens during the All-Star Game. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And when we return from break, we're going to be talking about the NBA dunk contest. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to 88.1 FM WCWP.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Do you find yourself listening to the same 3 songs, same 3 artists all the time? And I think I might have the solution for you. Welcome to The Eclectic Company, hosted by me, your favorite spooky host, Beck, balancing genre variety and musical whiplash, playing Fridays 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. on no other than WCWP 88.1 FM and streaming on the WCWP mobile app.
You can support WCWP with one simple click. Log on to WCWP.org and click on the support tab. WCWP is your home to LIU Sharks Athletics, The Rock Show, and much more. Visit WCWP.org and click on the support tab. It's that simple. WCWP is a non-commercial radio station, and your support goes to help students and our staff. Visit WCWP.org and click on the support tab. Thanks for listening to WCWP and LIU Public Radio.
Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead. We provide programs and services designed to assist and support the older town residents who wish to remain in their homes as they age. Tune in to Project Independence and You every Friday from 10 a.m. to noon for important information, entertaining guests, and much more. That's Project Independence and You, Friday mornings from 10 to noon on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
You're listening to the Sports Shark Tank on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
Welcome back to the Shark Tank on 88.1 FM WCWP. I am Nick Fioravanti alongside Joe Frescott and Dylan Conelli. We just finished talking about the NBA trade deadline, who's going to be a seller, who's going to be a buyer, specific players who could go certain places. But now we're going to talk about the death of the dunk contest. The NBA dunk contest for years has kind of been on a downward trajectory. You've got guys that nobody really has heard of. If you're a casual NBA fan, like if you're a hardcore fan, you've definitely heard of these guys. But they just announced recently the participants of the 2025 NBA Slam Dunk Contest. Shams Charania posted on Twitter, Orlando Magic G League team, what's their name? The Magic's G League's team, Mac McClung, and then alongside, he'll be aiming. He's a 2-time winner. He won the past 2 years, so he's not accomplished. Like, this guy is a good dunker. However, the average NBA fan still has no idea who the hell this guy is.
Well, I think the only way that people know who Mac McClung is if you saw his high school tape.
Yeah.
And because he was somebody who got very famous on Ball His Life and high school. So I knew who he was.
Yeah.
But he was known as flashy dunker, and he's obviously a great basketball player, but not NBA caliber. And yeah, that's the problem, is the fact that you have guys who are not like high profile names. Like,
right.
The whole point of the dunk contest is for guys that we know and love to put on a show. And I feel like the past few years, not only has the names been underwhelming, but the show itself has just been pitiful.
100%. Like, Mac McClung doesn't even play for the Magic's regular team. He plays for the Osceola Magic. Where is Osceola? Who? Anyway, alongside Mac McClung, we've got Stephon Castle of the San Antonio Spurs, Matas Buzelis. I'm not sure if I said that right, of the Chicago Bulls. And we've got Andre Jackson Jr. from the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, if you're not a hardcore NBA fan, you have no idea who these guys are. I mean, Buzelis, he was the number 11 pick this past draft. Stephon Castle was the number 4 pick in this last draft. And Andre Jackson Jr., he was drafted in the second round in 2023's draft. He only played 33 games for the Bucks this year so far, averaging 17 minutes a game. These guys are not touching the floor nearly as much for people to, be like, oh my God, I know that guy. Oh, he's going to do the dunk contest. No way. I have to tune into the dunk contest. Like, the NBA has done a good job of making All-Star Weekend it's a great All-Star Weekend. I would rival it close to MLB's All-Star Weekend. They do a lot of great stuff, a lot of fun activities. They do the All Skills Challenge, which is always fun to watch. I remember specifically Scotty Barnes having a great time at the All-Star Skills Challenge. That was a great watch. But then, you've got these guys. I mean, they couldn't even put Mac McClung in a regular Magic jersey for last year. He was wearing his G League uniform. Yikes. And he still won. He's going for his 3rd in a row. I mean, when all is said and done, this guy might be the greatest dunk contest contestant ever. And we have no idea who he is still. I think it's a serious problem with the NBA's PR and marketing. No offense to Mac, no offense to Stephon or Matas or Andre, but it's a confusing question that all NBA fans have. Why don't we have any more superstars and big names who want to participate? But we've got somebody on the line. You're on the air with the Shark Tank right now. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
So my name is Dan, and I'm calling from Long Island, New York.
What's up, Dan? How you doing?
What's up? I hear you guys talking about the NBA All-Star Weekend and how the dunk contest is dying. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to give my input on that.
Yeah. What's your opinion?
So, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Stephen A's take on the NBA dunk contest and everything, how they should sponsor, like NBA players should sponsor dunkers outside of the NBA, because it's like a known fact that the best dunkers in the world are not in the NBA. It's like all those like street ballers and everything. And if you like see all the names that are in the dunk contest nowadays, it's just like unacceptable and a bad look for like the NBA as a whole. And like it's making like the 2022 dunk contest look actually like good. That like dunk contest included like Obi Toppin and Jalen Green to like highlight them. And like the NBA needs to change something entirely to make it more entertaining to watch. They should worry less about the All-Star game and worry more about like the festivities on that Saturday night with all the dunk contests, especially.
I think that's a fantastic point. Honestly, like the best dunkers are the guys who are, putting together street mixtapes, and these are the dunks that people want to see. It's not, it's not Mac McClung doing a under the legs dunk, that's cool and all, but like there's no star power behind it anymore. So I think that's a fantastic idea. These superstars, they don't really want to get injured either. So that's another humongous factor. But I think that's a fantastic idea that you bring forth.
So, Dan, do you agree with Stephen A? Do you think that they should just bring in celebrities and then the dunk contest is just no longer an NBA player thing? Because I don't agree.
Well, at this point, you don't really see much. And you don't need, there's one not even in the NBA player, like in the dunk contest.
Yeah.
I get it. Mac McClung is like good, but he's a 2-time champ. Like, how much more dunks does he really have in him to like wow the crowd? And like, I covered Stephon Castle last year when he was at UConn. I haven't really seen him do any flashy dunks. Like, I don't know what he can bring. Maybe he could surprise everyone. And then obviously Matt Buzelis, he did like a little bit in the summer league. He put on a show. And then even Andre Jackson, I love the NBA and I rarely know anything about him. So it's just like, you want to get the casual fan to like watch this, and having something with the NBA stars in it, if that's including sponsoring them or even in it, just do something to make it entertaining.
Yeah, I think that personally, I think the dunk contest is something that should stay within the NBA grasp. So I don't necessarily agree with the fact that just bring in celebrities, maybe make it the own competition. that'd be great. But I think there just has to be some sort of incentive, right, for these guys to compete. Clearly the dunk contest has lost the shine that it once had. I mean, you're talking about, some of the first dunk contest winners are Hall of Famers. You're talking about Dominique Wilkins, Spud Webb, Michael Jordan, the GOAT. The actual GOAT is a back-to-back winner. You have Kobe, may he rest in peace, Vince Carter, Jason Richardson. Like, these are guys that are household staple names. And now you're talking about, absolute bums or rookies that are competing and are the only people that care. So the only way to make these athletes, I think, care more is the dollars, is the money. And that NBA players are going to always be chasing the bag. So I think you just have to incentivize it more, make the payout more, maybe make a sponsor. I know, Dan, you were talking about sponsorships. Maybe have a company sponsor each guy, run a campaign like that. And that way that the players are tied to a brand, and that brand could be paying the money that these players, would need and incentivize them to compete. Because it's a major problem. I mean, I love the 3-point contest because you're getting the best 3-point shooters in the world. But the dunk contest, you want the best dunkers in the NBA, not the world. So yeah, those are my thoughts. But I don't think we should have celebrities in it. They're not celebrities, but the professionals, quote unquote, in it. But any last thoughts, Dan, before we let you go?
I agree with like what you said. I know like the All-Star game, the incentive to like if you win is like 500,000. So I would make like the dunk contest incentive like we all know the NBA has money and everything with their TV rights. Like make it at least like 5 million for like the winner to like actually like entice the players to like do it. But that's really it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dan, for your call. Appreciate you tuning into the show, my man.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Dan put up a lot of great points. Personally, I do agree with Dan. They should be bringing in these guys that are, not better dunkers, but dunkers who will, they will, incentivize people to watch the dunk contest more. And it brings credence to the point that Dylan had last segment, where some of these NBA players really aren't motivated enough. I mean, to be just winning games. Maybe a little cash monetization could get these guys to get out and show out what they can do. I don't know. What do you think?
So I actually have I was thinking, right? So these guys are uber rich. Well, not the guys that are playing right now, but if you want stars, you're going to have to pay them a lot of money. So what if instead of paying rich people even more money, they get to pick a charity that they support, and then the winner, like it's like tiers, and if you win, you can donate the most to the charity and take that prize money and actually give it to someone that needs it, or like a charity for like kids with cancer or something like that. I feel like that would be more incentivized, because a lot of these players have charities that they can that they run. So I feel like that would maybe be a better alternative to just giving them money, because like they're already making millions upon millions.
Dylan, I'm flabbergasted, because that was the best idea you've ever had about anything ever. That was such a good idea.
Wow.
I want to give you, so I don't think we've ever introduced this system at all, but we do have a point system on the show, where it's just, we take away points. If Dylan says something stupid, he should have negative, but he's a little more lenient. And then we have, obviously add a point for a good take, a winner, or trivia, or whatever the case may be. And Dylan, I want to give you a point right there. I think Nick will agree. Let's give him a round of applause.
Deserved. Yeah, absolutely. That might have been the best thing you've ever said on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow.
Not even close. It's not even close. Okay. That was such a good idea. I have to say, I'm like one of those things, like I didn't have that idea, because that thing's the best way to do it, because you're going to get players in, you're going to rope them in to the fact it's going to be great PR, going to a great cause. And at the end of the day, these athletes who are also celebrities, they care about, two things. They care about their pockets, and then they care about their image, their perception.
Yeah.
So if you can't hit on the pockets aspect, then that's not going to get it. Your perception is definitely going to get there. And, if you're going to say, if you're competing in dunk contest and you won, and you're going to donate $1 million to your charity, I think that, that's just the exact kind of press that superstars are going to want. And Dylan, let me just again,
Kudos.
I commend you.
Yes.
Kudos for a great point.
Absolutely. And that's going to wrap up this segment on the NBA dunk contest, where Dylan actually brought up a good point for once. But also thank you to Dan for calling in and bringing up another great point, which I agree with. But I think that the NBA still has a little bit of work to do with their All-Star weekend to make it the best in the 4 major league sports. But we're going to go to break. But when we come back, we're going to be talking, lastly, still remaining in the basketball realm, we're going to be talking about the game tonight versus the Knicks, between the Knicks and the Nuggets here in Madison Square Garden. We're going to preview the game, talk about who the X Factor is. We're going to give you the inside scoop. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Shark Take on 88.1 FM WCWP.
The classics live here on LIU Public Radio 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. Tune in to the Rockin' Sunday Show with me, Alana, every Sunday afternoon from 12 to 2 p.m. We bring you classic rock and 80s pop. You'll hear everything from Madonna to the Beatles. The Rockin' Sunday Show every Sunday afternoon from 12 to 2 p.m. here on LIU Public Radio 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
Do you remember where you were when this song played for the first time? And if you weren't around yet, do you know what was happening in our country at this time? I'm Cindy Schwartz, host of Rockin' History. Join me Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. for 1 hour of classic rock from the 60s through the 90s that reflects the historical events of the time. That's Rockin' History with Cindy Schwartz, Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org, LIU Public Radio.
All right, my children, Grandfather Rock is here. Hi, this is Chris McIntosh. Join me every Sunday evening at 5 for Rock and Soul Gospel. It's the best rock and roll on the radio, and you can hear it right here at 88.1 FM, WCWP.org, or the WCWP mobile app. We are LIU Public Radio.
Listen, baby.
You're listening to the Sports Shark Tank on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
Welcome back to the Shark Tank on 88.1 FM WCWP. I'm Nick Fioravanti, sitting alongside Joe Frescott and Dylan Conelli. Last segment, we talked a little bit about the NBA dunk contest and how, it could be fixed / reinterpreted. But we're going to keep it within the realm of basketball for our last segment. The Denver Nuggets are coming into town. They're going to Madison Square Garden and taking on our New York Knicks. I'm actually going to the game. So right after this is over, I'm driving to the train, and then me and my friend are going to the game. So maybe I'll do some live analysis or something. I don't know. Anyway, the Denver Nuggets with reigning MVP Nikola Jokic. He's leading the team in every statistical category: points per game, rebounds per game, defensive rebounds, assists, turnovers, whatever that comes with the territory. But this is going to be a spectacle for Knicks fans. I mean, the Denver Nuggets, they are no joke. They're 28-18 right now. They have a very good record on the road, actually, 14-10. This is going to be a shootout in the Garden. Josh Hart is listed as a game-time decision, which hurts the Knicks' chances. I think if he's out, then we lose this game because Josh Hart. Have you seen that post on Twitter where it's just like the NBA needs to come up with an award for whatever the heck Josh Hart does on a nightly basis, because he puts up numbers in every statistical category. They're coming up with new categories for him to put up numbers in. It's absolutely crazy. But the combination of him, Brunson, Towns, they've just been wreaking havoc on the league, especially the past week or two. They've won 4 straight, the Knicks, and they're coming into a game against the Denver Nuggets, who 2 years ago won the NBA championship. And Nikola Jokic has not slowed down one single bit. I want to hear a little bit of either some predictions, or who do you think could be the guy that takes over this game and turns the game on its head tonight?
Yeah, I think that one thing I do want to mention is that they did play earlier this season. It
Mhm.
was within the first couple of weeks. The Knicks blew them out, 145 to 118. There was a complete lack of defense being played. But this was a team that the Nuggets that had a few guys that were unavailable that are going to be available tonight. And then Josh Hart actually had a quiet game statistically in that game. But you
Mhm.
know who popped off? The OG.
OG
Anunoby had
Anunoby.
a 40 piece alongside Cat, who had 30, but he has that like every night at this point. But OG had himself a night. He was the he took the most shots. It was just OG's night, and I think that's what's makes this Knicks team so great is that it is it is a next man up mentality, and the fact that it can really be anybody's night to pop off and drop 40.
Mhm.
We saw, I think it was like a week ago when Mikal Bridges had his big game, and then Brunson and Cat. It seems like every other game they have a big game in terms of scoring, and then OG every once in a while trying to get his footing. And I think I'm gonna go with OG to do it again.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is obviously he has a great matchup defensively. If Michael Porter Jr. is on him, Michael Porter Jr. knows one thing, and that's shooting a shot. And that's the only thing he knows. He doesn't play defense. So a great matchup there. If the Nuggets do choose to just man up and just play 5-on-5 basketball, doesn't bode well for them there. And then the fact that there's been a lot of talk about OG and Anunoby and getting him more frequently involved in the offense, and this would be a great night for him to shine. And I would really like OG to have a good game here, whether it's both offensively and defensively. If it's helping out on Nikola Jokic, because you got to double the man. I mean, Cat is I would say he's a good, not great defender. But Nikola Jokic is the best in the world when it comes to as in the center position. And as much as I love Cat, I don't think there's anyone close to Jokic. So there's obviously you need help down low with him and not only his ability to score, but his ability to pass the ball, which is next level. So I think the Knicks OG is going to be their key main factor, not only getting him involved in the offense, getting him going, getting rebounds if Josh Hart's not available, but I think honestly, almost most importantly, defensively against Jokic, whether he's switched on to him, it's one-on-one or bring in a double team and help defense, they're going to need it because Jokic is a walking triple-double.
Yeah.
I actually think that this is going to be a great test for Cat. Obviously going against the best player in the NBA right now. Jokic, how you say?
Nikola Jokic.
Yeah. Jokic is
There you go.
Yeah, I don't really say his name often. I gotta be honest with you. He's really incredible, winning MVP 3 out of the last 4 years. So this is gonna be a really big test for Cat going up against him. But I think they couldn't be going into this game in a better situation. Their offense has been on fire. The last 2 games they put 143 points up. So they're in a really good spot to take on this Nuggets team, which is one of the best in the league. And I'm really excited to see it. As you said before, Nick, it's going to be a shootout because both these offenses have been clicking. It's just who's going to click more because obviously both defenses have been lacking a bit this year. And with the offensive performance that the Knicks have been giving in the past 2 games, I think that the Knicks can keep that momentum going. And I'm going to take the Knicks on this game just because the momentum they're having is incredible.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be, the Knicks have no smattering of players to, take your eye off of, whether it's Brunson or Towns or Bridges or Anunoby. But I think Bridges is going to ride the hot hand. He put up 28. He was the leading scorer against Memphis. They blew him out on Monday, 143 to 106. He had 28 points. I think, once Bridges is really clicking in this offense, it's turned the Knicks from great to even better. So I'm expecting him to, get open a lot, take some deep shots. He's played Denver quite a lot in his career because he was a Phoenix Sun for the first 5 years of his career. He saw them quite often. I think he's going to kind of be leading the charge on how they can dissect this Denver Nuggets team at home. The Garden's going to be raucous. It's going to be crazy. The Knicks are going to win. But I'm betting on Mikal Bridges to really shine here and do his best. Maybe pull a couple from behind 3, and the Knicks will make it 5 in a row.
Yeah, and you're looking at teams as well that are on 2 different trajectories. At least recently, looking at the Knicks, obviously there's two elite teams. Let's not get confused. But recently, in the last 5 games, Knicks have won them all. The Denver Nuggets, they've lost their last 2 and in pretty devastating fashion to lowly competition. I mean, you're looking at, this is a 3-game road stand that they're on. This is the 3rd stop now. They went to Minnesota, played the T-Wolves, got smoked. Yeah. And then they went to Chicago and they lost in a game that came down to the end, but still an 8-point loss to a Chicago team that, as we mentioned earlier in the show, is not competing for anything this season. So this is a Nuggets team that has struggled a bit. They've struggled in the rebounding department, struggled in the efficiency department, scoring these last few games. So I know, Nick, you mentioned that they've been a great road team. This could be one of those road stretches where they just struggle. And this is an ESPN game against a Knicks team who's hot, who wants to go into the All-Star break, on that, riding that high. And I think they're going to do so. I think we're going to have a clean sweep of predictions here, including the Knicks. I mean, to be honest, I don't think I'm ever going to pick against the Knicks unless I'm like on a cold streak and I need to, just eliminate my bias and for the sake of the team, get rid of my stigma. But I think the Knicks win. I think they win handedly. I think Knicks by 10.
I love it.
Yeah, I really think that they're in a really good spot right now, especially with Coach Tibbs finally realizing the error in his ways and trusting his reserves. Joe Simley has been saying this all year, and I guess finally he tuned in and listened because he's been trusting. He's got a 9-man bench, and rotating these players has really shown a difference with the past 2 games, 143 points. So I really it's nice to finally see Tibbs realize that you can't just keep putting the same players in and day out. I know I said that they get paid enough that they should probably play every day, but again, they're basketball players, so they're not going to, like I said, they're crybabies. So trusting the reserves and getting this rotation in, it really showed to be getting these fresh legs in. Really showed to be a game changer. And I think that now that they got this going, I think the rest of the year should be, hopefully, I don't want to jinx. I'm not going to say it actually. I'd just say hypothetically, it could be smooth sailing if they keep it on the trajectory they are. But I'm not saying that because I don't want to jinx it.
Those are smart words right there. But yeah, like you said, Tibbs has been rotating guys in like Achua. Tyler Kolek has been playing a lot of meaningful minutes. Ariel Hukporti has been playing some meaningful minutes. Paco Daddier, he's only 19. He's been playing some decent minutes as well. And Campaign and Landry Shamet, they've been contributing as well. And it's really nice to see that these guys are getting their shots, especially in that game against Memphis where, Tibbs finally did something crazy and, rested his starters for more than 5 minutes at a time, which was absolutely insane to watch. But you got to love the bench coming in and, asserting themselves and showing that, they're not stale because they've been sitting there for weeks on end. They've been showing up and they've been showing out. So that's another thing that could really take the Knicks over the Nuggets tonight is their use of the people on the bench and exactly how they use it with Precious coming in like an Anunoby type of role or Tyler Kolek, finishing out a quarter or a half or something like that. He's a guy I'm really excited to look forward to, especially. So, any final thoughts before we sign off for the night? Any score predictions, maybe?
Score predictions. I'm gonna say 135 to 125 Knicks. And another point that I'll briefly mention is that the Nuggets also don't run a deep rotation.
No.
So I think that it's gonna come down to which team is gonna utilize their bench more. And I think crazy, but I think that's gonna be Tom Thibodeau tonight. So there you go. That's my prediction.
You got any final predictions before we sign off, Dylan?
Yeah, the Knicks are gonna win.
Exciting, riveting analysis there by Dylan. But thank you all so much for tuning in to another exciting episode of the Shark Tank here on 88.1 FM WCWP. I've been Nick Fioravanti, sitting alongside Joe Frescott and Dylan Conelli. Thank you so much for tuning in, and see you guys later.
Listen. Listen, baby, ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby.
If you need me, call me. No matter where you are, no matter how far.
Don't worry, baby.